Hello, good day everyone. We are Group 4A of SN 3D and I, Alisa Altaras, along with my group members Katrina Abong, Audrey Arevalo, Alyssa Bailon, and Gerald Hipolio will be presenting our research titled Level of Stress Among Nursing Students.
So first, what is stress? Stress is an experience of tension or irritation caused by reaction of a person when a situation that causes fear, excitement, or confusion appears. Nursing students were found to be experiencing higher levels of stress compared to students in other courses such as medical, social work, and pharmacy. Specifically, our research involved the freshman students who experienced a lot of stress. Now, what are these stressors, you may ask? Well, with freshman students, they're having to adjust to college from senior high school, learn more independently compared to prior educational methods they may be used to, and also have to balance other academic responsibilities with other responsibilities that they may have. As for the rationale of this study, considering that nursing school serves as the foundation of students' future careers as nurses, we needed to look into stress levels among students. Of course, a certain amount of stress can be good and okay for the body, but too much can be detrimental and can over time cause burnout or health problems. The study was conducted to provide an awareness to the institution, nursing students, and teachers on the stress levels among first year nursing students. Especially with the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic, further studies needed to be conducted among first year nursing students to determine their level of stress, especially now with the new distance teaching learning method and other challenges that come with it.
Now for objectives. For general objectives, this study aimed to determine the level of stress among first-year nursing students. For specific objectives, the study aimed to determine the following: to determine the profile of first-year nursing students, to identify the level of stress among first-year nursing students when categorized by section age and sex, and lastly, to determine if there was a significant difference in the levels of stress among first-year nursing students when categorized by section age and sex.
The study may be beneficial to the following administration. The study may be used as a vital instrument in identifying and planning effective intervention and strategies to alleviate or control the stress experienced in nursing education and training. Clinical instructors. This study may provide awareness to them about the level of stress among the first year students so they may give advice, emotional support, and help their students find coping strategies for stress. Nursing students for awareness of the stress they are experiencing so they may also be prompted to look into proper coping mechanisms and management strategies. Parents, it may help them understand the experiences of what nursing students go through so they may offer their children support to be able to overcome their stress. Future researchers as reference for those exploring more about the stress among nursing students and more specifically first year students. For the theoretical and conceptual framework, we use Lazarus transactional theory. In it, the person and the environment are inseparable. It also considers cognitive processes between the encounter, the reaction, and the factors that affect the process. We also use Sister Calista Roy's adaptation model, where it states that the person is continually experiencing environmental stimuli. Ultimately, a response is made and adaptation occurs. As you can see in the diagram, we first have the first year students and their age, sex, and section, then the surrounding stressors, which lead to the level of stress.
For hypothesis statement, there is no significant difference in the levels of stress in nursing students when categorized by section, age, and sex. For research design and method, we use a descriptive quantitative design for our research and use a survey instrument to gather data.
For participants, stratified random sampling was used to determine the study participants, which involved the 170 students. They were selected using random interval sampling. We also used the Sloven's formula to compute for the sample size and the number of participants per section.
For the data gathering procedure, we first sent a letter and got approval from nursing office to conduct study. Next, survey instrument was then tested for validity and reliability. We then identified the participants from the first-year nursing students. After that, we obtained informed consent from the participants and distributed the surveys. And lastly, we gathered the surveys, then checked, analyzed, and interpreted responses. For statistical analysis, we use statistical package for social sciences to analyze the gathered data. For the profile of participants, we used frequency count and percentage. For objective 1, when looking into the levels of stress, we used mean since the data was conserved in interval scoring. And lastly, for objective 2, because the data was not normally distributed, the non-parametric test, Kruskal-Wallis H test, and the Mann-Whitney tests were used to look into whether there was a significant difference in the levels of stress.
Now for our instrument, we use the Perceived Stress Scale by Sheldon Cohen. This is a scale that is often used to measure the stress in different populations. The instrument was validated by 3 advisors with an average score of 3.5 and checked for reliability with a Cronbach's alpha score of 0.856. The survey consisted of 2 parts, profile and questionnaire proper. The survey asks about the person's feelings and thoughts during the last month, and participants were asked to indicate how often they felt or thought a certain way.
For the ethical considerations, first, we sought permission from the office to conduct the study. We also obtained informed consent from the participants. We ensured that all the information gathered remained confidential. Lastly, all files were stored in a cloud storage, only accessible to the researchers, and will only be kept for 2 years after the study.
And now for our results. For profile of nursing students in terms of section. Most students that participated in the study came from Section A with 26 students, and the lowest number of 22 students came from Section D. As for the age, 149 students were aged 18 to 19 years old, while only 21 students were 20 years old and above. For the sex of the participants, only 38 of the participants were male and 132 participants were female. For level of stress among nursing students as a whole, the mean score was 22.81, which is categorized as moderate perceived stress. Next, levels of stress by section. Overall, every section had moderate stress, with Section F having the highest of 24.13 and Section A having the lowest of 21.27. For levels of stress by age, those aged 18 to 19 years old had a mean score of 22.80, and those 20 years old and above had a mean score of 22.90, both of which are categorized as moderate stress. For stress level by sex, male students had a mean score of 20.92, while females had a mean score of 23.36, both of which are categorized into moderate stress level. For the difference in the level of stress among nursing students when categorized by section, there was no significant difference in the level of stress among nursing students when categorized by section at a 0.05 level of significance. For the difference in the level of stress among nursing students when categorized by age and sex, for age, there was no significant difference in the age of the respondents and their level of stress at a 0.05 level of significance. For sex, there is a significant difference in the sex of the respondents and their level of stress at a 0.05 level of significance. In conclusion, most of the first-year nursing students that participated in the study belonged to Section A. Majority of them were students that age 18 to 19 years old, and most of them belonged to female group. Almost all nursing students in the study experienced moderate stress, regardless of section, age, or sex. It was also discovered that section and age had no statistically significant difference in the perceived stress levels, while sex had a statistically significant difference in the perceived stress level.
Recommendation. It is recommended that schools provide effective counseling opportunities and stress management strategies for students. Survey students on their stress levels periodically. Conduct workshops or webinars on stress and effective coping strategies. Consider curriculum optimization, especially with distance learning. And lastly, that further research must explore the specific factors that exacerbate the experience of stress among students relative to the curriculum design, distance learning, and the effects of the pandemic itself. Utilization. The results of the study will be submitted to provide awareness to the institution, teachers, and students about the level of stress among nursing students. Also, it will be handed over to the College of Nursing at University of St. LaSalle in order for them to address the stress of nursing students during visual learning. And so, nursing students will be able to manage their stress effectively. Acknowledgement. Throughout the creation of this research, we have received a great amount of help and support and would like to thank the following: the College of Nursing of the University of St. LaSalle, and to the participants of the study. To our research facilitators, Dr. Sheila M. Trejera, Ms. Kristen A. Condes, and Mr. O.J. B. Jimenez for their experience, guidance, and encouragement. To our parents and families for their wise counsel and sympathetic ear. And lastly, we praise and thank God Almighty for His shower of strength, wisdom, and guidance throughout this research study. All is possible because of him.